This pot of stew is made from 5 ingredients: 1 can of meat, 2 cans of peas, ketchup, an onion, water. That is it. And it feeds 4 to 5 people. This is mulligan stew, a 1940s wartime recipe built entirely around one idea. A small amount of meat had to flavor an entire pot and feed an entire family. Today I am going to show you exactly how to make it and why it still makes complete sense to know how. It is the 1940s. Rationing is in effect. Meat is not freely available. Families receive a set amount per week, often far less than what they would normally cook with. Every gram matters. Nothing gets wasted. Wartime cooks learned something that most people today have completely forgotten. The flavor from a small amount of meat, when simmered long and slow in a pot with vegetables and liquid, spreads through everything. It flavors the broth, it flavors the peas, it flavors the entire pot. In the original wartime kitchens, this would have been done with canned meat like corned beef. In modern kitchens, ground beef is often used instead, creating a softer but very similar result. You do not need a lot of meat to make a satisfying meal. You need time, patience, and the right technique. Mulligan stew was one of the meals built on that exact thinking. Practical, filling, inexpensive. Meals like this were built around practicality, not luxury. Let me show you how it works. Here is everything needed: 340 grams of ground beef or canned corned beef in the original wartime version, 1 medium onion, 2 cans of peas with their liquid, 15 ounces each, 300 milliliters of ketchup, 250 milliliters of water, a quarter teaspoon of salt, 1 to 1.5 teaspoons of black pepper. Look at that ingredient list for a moment. There is almost no fresh produce, no stock, no expensive cuts. Everything here is either canned or pantry stable. That was intentional. Wartime cooking was designed around what was actually available, not what was ideal. Canned goods were reliable when fresh food was rationed or unavailable. And notice the ketchup. That might look unusual in a stew recipe. It is not. Ketchup was a staple of hardship cooking because it did 3 things at once. It added sweetness to balance the salt of the canned meat. It added acidity to brighten the whole pot. And it added flavor depth that plain water and canned peas simply could not produce on their own. Wartime cooks were not using ketchup because they lacked ingredients. They were using it because it worked. Keep the liquid from the canned peas. It goes into the pot. During rationing, nothing was wasted, including the liquid from canned vegetables. It adds both flavor and body to the stew. Step 1. Prepare the ingredients. Slice the red onion into half rings and set aside. Open the 2 cans of peas and pour them into a sieve, making sure to catch and reserve the liquid. Collect the peas in a separate glass bowl and set them aside. Place the ground beef in a bowl and break it apart with your hands or a spoon. Keep it loose so it distributes evenly through the stew later. Here's why the size of the meat pieces matters. Small pieces distribute through the entire pot. Every spoonful of stew picks up some meat. The flavor spreads evenly. Large chunks sit in one area. Some bowls get most of the meat. Others get almost none. When you are working with a limited amount of meat to feed multiple people, distribution is everything. Small pieces of meat throughout the stew, not large chunks in one corner. That distribution is what makes a little meat feed a lot of people. Step 2. Build the base. Place a large pot on medium heat. Add the peas along with all their liquid into the pot. Add the 250 milliliters of water. Stir and bring to a gentle boil before adding the next ingredients. Watch this stage. The pea liquid is slightly starchy and slightly cloudy. As it comes to temperature, it begins to thicken slightly. That is the foundation of the stew body. It is doing exactly what it is supposed to do. Families during the war learned to stretch every ingredient. The pea liquid is not a throwaway. It is part of the recipe. Quick question while this is coming to a simmer. Before today, did you know that the liquid from canned peas or beans is usable in cooking? A lot of people drain it straight down the sink. Did you? Drop it in the comments. I am genuinely curious how widely known this is. Step 3. Add everything else. Add the ground beef to the pot, add the finely chopped onion, add the ketchup, then add the salt and black pepper. Stir everything thoroughly until the ketchup is fully incorporated and the meat is distributed evenly throughout. Take a moment to look at what is in the pot now. Pale peas and cloudy pea liquid, crumbled meat, the deep red of the ketchup beginning to spread through the liquid. That color shift is the ketchup doing its job, adding depth before the long simmer even starts. The smell at this stage is already telling. The ground beef is warming through, the onion is beginning to soften, the slight tang of the ketchup. This is going to get significantly better over the next hour. Step 4. The long simmer. This is the most important step. Do not rush it. Lower the heat completely. Cover the pot with a lid. Simmer gently for at least 1 hour, stirring occasionally. Here is what is happening during that hour. The flavors are merging. The ketchup is losing its sharpness and becoming rounded. The ground beef is breaking down further and releasing its flavor into the liquid. The onion is softening completely and disappearing into the broth. At the 30-minute mark, taste it. Note the difference from when you first added everything. The sharpness is already going. The seasoning of the ground beef is balanced against the sweetness of the ketchup. At the 1 hour mark, taste it again. What was a pot of separate cheap ingredients is now one unified, deeply savory stew. The longer it simmers, the better it tastes. That is the entire principle behind this cooking style. Time is the ingredient that costs nothing. 1 hour minimum. That long simmer is what transforms this from a pot of separate cheap ingredients into one unified stew. 30 minutes produces something that tastes unfinished. 1 hour produces something genuinely good. I think about this principle a lot. The idea that time is the ingredient that costs nothing. That a pot of inexpensive things, given enough low heat and enough patience, produces something that a quick, expensive meal cannot. Do you find that to be true in your own cooking? Let me know in the comments. Let me put what is in this pot into real terms. 340 grams of ground beef, 2 cans of peas, ketchup, an onion, and water. The total cost of those ingredients is almost nothing. The yield is 4 to 5 full bowls of filling stew. That is the mathematics that wartime cooks understood instinctively. You do not need expensive ingredients to produce a satisfying meal. You need the right technique and enough time. This recipe scales exactly. Double every ingredient, keep the same simmer time, feed 8 to 10 people from the same pot. Meals like this were built around practicality, not luxury. And that practicality is exactly what makes them worth knowing today. Step 5. Serve. Ladle the stew into bowls. Serve hot. A piece of bread alongside it is the traditional way. Watch what happens when you ladle it. The broth is thick now, not watery. The peas are soft but intact. The meat is distributed through every spoonful. The color is a deep, rich, reddish brown from an hour of the ketchup cooking into the broth. This is what 1 hour of patient simmering produces from 5 inexpensive ingredients. It does not look like a compromise. It does not taste like one either. The families who made stews like this during the 1940s were not making a virtue of necessity. They were solving a practical problem with the tools available: rationed ingredients, a pot, a stove, and time. What comes out the other side is a recipe that holds up completely on its own terms. Not because it was the only option, because the technique is genuinely sound. A small amount of meat, a long simmer, a full pot of stew. That logic has not aged. If you want to keep learning techniques like this, make sure to subscribe.